Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about the deck Miracle Worker, but a few things before I go on about that. One, I got a brand new camera. If you can't tell, I look really now old and not really the best. The second thing is the new camera I got doesn't come with the mic with the jack thing in it, so I have to kind of record this audio through the mic on the camera. So sorry about that. I'm going to try and fix it and get a new mic to help make this audio better for you. And then thirdly, if you want to help out and support the channel, I have an Etsy where I make really soft and colourful t-shirts that are funny, and I do really like them. I'm trying to come up with more ideas to make more t-shirts and hoodies for you, but if you like what I do and want to support the channel with new mics, cameras and lights and stuff like that, please go onto the Etsy and maybe get yourself a nice t-shirt, because it is a win-win. You get something nice, I get money to be able to buy better equipment, then you get to then watch the new videos with the better equipment, and hopefully less stuff like this with audio and stuff like that happens, where now I don't look like a really old man. So now let's go right onto the deck itself. In this video I'll be going over the commander, the sub-commander, and then the context of the deck to answer the question of, is this deck worth it? So let's start off with the commander, and the commander of this deck is
a Minotaur, Veil Piercer 1 generic mana-owned white mana-owned blue mana-owned black mana legendary creature, human wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 2. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest on top of your library in any order. Each enchantment card in your hand has Miracle. Its miracle cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 4 generic mana. You may cast a card for its miracle cost when you draw it if it's the first card you drew this turn. 2/4.
So firstly, this character used to be a planeswalker and have lost their spark. Now, to be honest, when I heard about this, I wasn't the biggest fan, and to be honest, I'm still not. I do think planeswalkers are a big thing, and they kind of are like, we don't know what to do with them, we have too many, so let's just write them out. But again, I can make an entire video on what Magic is doing lately that I'm not the biggest fan of. And then this is clearly a enchantment commander. The whole point of this commander is just to sit there and help your deck go a little bit faster. You're not planning on attacking or blocking with this commander. 4 mana for a 2/4 is okay, especially with no keywords. But for your surveil lovers, at the beginning of your you get a surveil 2 each time it's on the field, which is quite good. However, that means the deck needs to be very graveyard heavy, and kind of surveil matters are looking at the top of your deck, which does, because this gets every single enchantment card and reduces it by 4 if you draw it that turn. So you do kind of need to make sure there is stuff on your deck ready for the miracle cost that has to be an enchantment. Now again, I'm not the biggest fan of this because it does what it does but reduces it by 4, but personally I think you're going to be spending more mana trying to find out what's on top of your library, or trying to get a card from your hand on top of your library that you want the miracle cost of. Plus it's 4 generic, so depending if you put a load of enchantment creatures in or different enchantments that are not in this deck, you are probably putting in way too much effort for the same amount of value, instead of just building a deck with enchantment creatures in it or really good enchantments. Now, in saying that, this deck could be absolutely amazing. I'm just saying, personally, I prefer Animatu as a planeswalker, and then the surveil is good and the miracle thing is good, but it is kind of way too finicky for me, in my personal opinion, that you actually probably end up late game spending more mana than you are than if you just built a deck based on enchantments. Like, I think early game it'll speed up, but late game it'll slow you down. But with every commander there is a sub-commander, and the sub-commander of this deck is
the Master of Keys X generic mana-owned white mana-owned blue mana-owned black mana legendary enchantment creature, horror flying. When the Master of Keys enters, put X +1/+1 counters on it and mill twice X cards. Each enchantment card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. You may cast cards from your graveyard for their escape cost. 3/3.
This I absolutely love. I do love a X-cost commander, especially that does really cool stuff like this, that you're able to mill a potentially good chunk of your deck and then give all your enchantments escape, which is a really cool ability, and then power this up a lot. Now, however, when it comes to this sub-commander explicitly, it needs to be a lot of mana. So I think like all the artifacts, or most of the artifacts, are going to be mana rocks. Hopefully it's going to be difficult without green. There's going to be ways to make lots of mana. But I can see this because of Aminatou, that it's not going to be as fast as it needs to be to have this as your priority commander. I think they are going to do it, but a slower version, because they're not planning on putting this deck to be ridiculous amounts of money. So it's not going to have the really expensive cards and ramps that if you want to build this as your commander, make it come as a huge, massive creature, mill half your deck, and then play a bunch of stuff. I don't think they're going to have the ability to put that kind of funds into a deck that's a pre-con. But now onto the deck itself. Starting off with the creatures. In this deck there's 23 creatures, but you get creatures just like
Ancient Cellar-Spawn, Arvinox, the Mind Flail, Athreus, Shroud Veiled, Demon of Fate's Design, Doomwake Giant, Dream Eater, Fear of Sleep Paralysis, Mesa Enchantress, Metamorphosis Fanatic, Nightmare Shepherd, Ondu Spirit Dancer, Phenomenon Investigators, Prognostic Sphinx, Soaring Lightbringer, Solemn Simulacrum, Starfield Mystic, Verge Rangers.
So personally, I'm not sure how to feel and not to feel when it comes to this. Solemn Simulacrum for free is a good card in this deck. I didn't think of it until I seen it. There is some cards that I'm like, yeah, I can see good in here, but there's a few cards that I'm like, whew, not the biggest fan of. I do like it, but it seems to be really weird cards in my personal opinion. I can't really see the full image they're going for, and there is a bunch of cards where I'm like, that'll be good surveilled, that'll be good cast for free, but if you mill it, casting it for escape is a bit and then nothing really for 1/1 counters like really needed. So I'm kind of like, I'm not sure how I feel towards the creatures. So if there's any creatures you would like in this deck, or actually prefer, or actually like your opinions on them, let me know in the comments down below, because the creature part is quite confusing for me. I do like that they have some enchantment creatures though. Now we are going on to the spells of the deck. When it comes to the spells, this is the instants and sorceries. There is 18 in total, and you get spells just like
A Minotaur's Augury, Entreat the Angels, Ink Shield, Redress Fate, Terminus, Time Wipe, Utter End.
one of the cards I find to be absolutely amazing, the Redress Fate. This is really, really good late game. You literally just like mill yourself double, keep surveilling to the bottom, and then play this, and then other cards that roughly do the same. You are literally going, someone board wipes, you're going, I don't care, boom, here's everything back. Plus there are many different variations of cards that do this, that bring back all enchantments, or bring back all artifacts, or make artifacts indestructible and stuff like that, that I do think that this card would be really good, or them type of cards would be good, and making a new one with a miracle cost is good. The rest of them are like Animatu's Augury, of course was going to go in the Animatu deck. That is a really good card, but not really seen lately in play because of how easy and fast it is to get cards. So again, this is more of just a, here's the Planeswalker, here's the card to do with the Planeswalker. That's not really a Planeswalker anymore, the Commander. So now on to the enchantments of the deck. When it comes to the enchantments, there's 15 in total, but you get great enchantments just like
Cramped Vents, Extravagant Replication, Life Insurance, Mirror Maid, Monologue Tax, One with the Multiverse, Secret Arcade, Shark Typhoon, Sigil of the Empty Throne, Spirit Sisters Call, Timely Ward.
To be honest, I don't really see where they're going with this. There is some cards like Shark Typhoon, which are good, but it just seems to be, here it is, really low cost, not mana wise, like actual money wise, enchantments that are seen and played a lot and are quite good, so here. To be honest, I think they should have been more sagas, enchantment sagas, or anything like that. Maybe more rooms. I know I think there is a room or two in here, but I think focusing on rooms, the new mechanic, would have been really cool. But I do find this to be a very weird kind of enchantment set to go in. I personally think like a Smothering Tide or Aristic Studies would go in there, or just to be a hater, a Jeweled Lotus, but it's banned now, would be absolutely amazing in this deck. So I can see more why it's banned, but that's a completely different video. So now on to the artifacts. When it comes to this deck, there is 7 artifacts in total, and I was right. All of them, and I mean all of them, are mana rocks, which I kind of think is good but also bad. When it comes to the commander, the mana rocks are just useless for it. Good to have them in. For the sub-commander, the mana rocks are great to go in because you're speeding it up. However, they should be, in my personal opinion, artifacts that are mana rocks but also have abilities. So there's something like, I know there's the Clock Tower, that's a mana rock that you can tap and draw after the 12th turn or something. And there is artifacts out there that are really good for this type of stuff, but they just keep putting in the talismans, the soul rings, that are consignet, which I'm fine with, but I think they should have put in, especially for this deck to help out with Animatu, more draw abilities, especially with Surveil. And then finally, the lands of this deck. There is 37 lands in total, but you get great lands just like
A Darker Wastes, Caves of Koilos, Hall of Iliad's Generosity, Underground River.
Now, this is where I'm fully disappointed in. This is kind of the old way of the lands. They do, I think, have a filter land in, but the rest of the lands are so bad. They have thriving lands. Thriving lands, in my opinion, are the worst lands in Magic the Gathering. I absolutely hate them. They're really bad. But there's not many cards. For a deck that needs more ramp because of the sub-commander, I don't find this to be good. To be honest, the best thing about it is the Surveil part, because you get to get rid of the lands and put them in your graveyard, which lowers your deck, which then enables you to play stuff with a miracle cost faster. But other than that, I'm not the biggest fan of the lands. I actually think out of all 4 decks, this land base is the worst. Now my thoughts and opinions on the entire deck as a whole. Starting off with, I'm not a big fan of Animatu being a creature. I would like it to have been a new version of a Planeswalker with kind of the same abilities if needed. However, I do find it that this commander can be played in different ways. If you want to ignore the miracle cost stuff and just surveil through your deck, really good for that. If you want to then have as many miracle costs, putting like a scroll rack in your deck and a Sisay's top and stuff like that, great deck for that. I do think this would be a really fun and unique commander with a new room mechanic. I do think if you want to buy from the set all the commons, rares and uncommons of the rooms that can fit in this deck and just put it in and see how it goes, I think this would be a really good room commander. The sub commander, I absolutely love it as a kind of Voltron deck, but you have to mill, so it kind of gives you that little race of I need to get the cards I need, but also I need to be able to get a lot of mana to then be able to one-shot someone, or have it that there's many different ways putting off the 1/1 counters. I'm not sure if you can do it. I think green is the only way you can move, or get the monolith, put your commander on the field or your sub commander on the field, give it a bunch of 1/1 counters, take it off, put it on that shulk thing that when it dies it makes 1/1 squid octopus things for how many 1/1 counters are on it. Like, you can do many with the commander and the sub commander. But when it comes to the deck as a whole, I do find there is a lot of kind of hard focus on one, hard focus on the other, and then just kind of, we don't know what to put in. Here is cheap, generic good stuff to kind of make sure that the price is staying on brand when it comes to buying these decks. Personally, I do think it's a good deck to buy for a lot of the context in it if you want miracle cards, new miracle cards and stuff like that, but I think it is a product that is just kind of on its own, playable out the box, kind of okay. Overall, I will give it a 6.6. That's just me. I would love to hear what you would give it in the comments down below. While you're there, what cards would you put in it? What cards would you take out? Is there any cards you think I've not discussed or think are amazing in this deck? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're there, remember to like and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff we always ask for. And if you're curious about the other 3 decks I've done, I have the previous one here, a playlist of Magic the Gathering Is It Worth It stuff here, and a subscribe button here. If the audio is bad, I apologise in advance, and hopefully gonna plan and get that set and fixed as fast as humanly possible. But as always, I will see you all in the next video.